Hello, my sweet, beautiful soul brothers and sisters and friends and family from this world called Earth and this beautiful galaxy and this gorgeous solar system and universe. So in this video, I want to share with you how some ways which you can validate and show approval and even support and encouragement and an act of love and loving kindness to somebody else. And that is how to validate a person who may be saying things that either make you feel uncomfortable or that you don't actually like, or even possibly sometimes if you know you're not fully necessarily 100% in agreement with, or you don't actually like their behavior or their words, etc, etc, etc. Now, basically speaking, this is the premise of where arguments and fighting and disconnection come from. It's when it's basically a fight, a resistance, like two people coming against each other, like banging heads. And it's when people are triggered, or when the pain body or the shadow arises, as various teachers like Teal Swan or Eckhart Tolle calls it the pain body. Teal Swan and loads of others before that call it the shadow. Being triggered is a common word for it these days. Is when high emotions come from a small enough situation. It seems small, but big, strong emotions come up, and usually then it's a form of unconsciousness and automatic criticizing and judging of each other. But in my life, what's helped me so enormously, and I've made a few little small videos on this, but this is just the more recent one so far. And these are some words that you can actually implement and use in your life when somebody talks to you, and you would typically in the past become defensive or reactive or talk very quickly back to them, or interact or counter-attack. Or even as simple as becoming explanatory. Oh, no, explaining how maybe they're wrong or you're right, or explaining the missing information to them, which is very important sometimes, but there's a time and a place, there's a step. There's a step one, there's a step two, there's a step three. We do things in order in communication, in more conscious, deliberate, positive, empowered communication. So before we get explanatory, we want to validate and show approval and concern. So it reminds me of a quotation: the most important things you give somebody is your attention, your concern, your time. And it takes a bit of time to show concern and approval and a validation before you get to step two. So it takes time to do step one. So step one, as even non-violent communication suggests, it takes time. It's an act of empathy. It's asking them investigating how they're feeling, what they're wanting or needing. So you feel this way, you like this, or you need this. But in this video, and I may even put links below for you to investigate and learn much more. It's helped me a lot and so many other people in the world. But anyway, getting to the crunch, getting back to the video on the words that I like to use these days and I highly resonate with and I want to share with you. And that is the words like, let's say for example somebody says, I don't like it when you do this, or I feel like I just feel stressed when you do that, like, or when you leave these things, like when you don't do this or you do that, it just wrecks my head. I don't like it. I feel annoyed at you. I feel angry. It just pisses me off. Imagine someone says that, okay? And then you're like, well, you said this. Well, I said that. Well, you did that. Like, and that's another thing. Typically one of the worst type of manifestation of words we can use at the beginning of a sentence when people are talking to us like this, when people are stressed and upset, is you. So what we really want to say is like I. So then they don't feel attacked. When you start talking about yourself, they can't really feel attacked. When you start saying you, they can totally misperceive you, even if you're not directly giving out or criticizing or judging them. Even if you're not, they can still hear criticism and feel upset and attacked and criticized and angry. So you say I. And this is, the best words is like validating, approving words, like I hear you. I agree with you. I understand. You're right. Starting with you, but it's a total validating. You're right. I hear you. I get you. I understand you. I hear you. You're making sense here. That makes sense. From John Wineland, he taught me like how to say the words "that makes sense." It's a very powerful word. That makes sense. It's like basically everything I'm saying here is saying that you're not crazy. What you're saying is right and makes sense according to like where you're coming from, And it even makes, like, I'd feel the same way. This is another one. I'd feel the same way, and this that second, I'd feel the same way. I